What up, everybody? This is your boy Dedrian from House of Wrestling, and this is my review for the October 14th episode of AEW Dynamite. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that you are notified when the House of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Man, tonight's AEW Rampage, of course, it was taped yesterday in Toronto. Man, shout out to that Toronto crowd, man. They made Dynamite and Rampage so much more watchable. Not taking anything away from Rampage, like it sucks and it's terrible wrestling. Like is a an assumption and something that most people run with. I don't tend to believe that. Hey, it's different from all the other wrestling that we watch or that I watch, so it's cool with me. But man, the Toronto crowd made such a difference. Like they just added more to a show that was relatively good. This week in AEW, Dynamite and Rampage was a lot better than the week before because of all the backstage drama that was a shadow and a cloud over the wrestling uh, that was being presented. But man, tonight was really good, and the ending. Ooh, there's a lot to talk about that. But before I do that, I'm going to give you guys a result. So we had Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli. They defeated Butcher and the Blade. We had Nyla Rose. She defeated Anna Jay. We had Ethan Page defeat Isaiah Cassidy, which, if you guys remember on Dynamite, it was mentioned that if Ethan Page defeats Isaiah Cassidy, then Private Party and Matt Hardy's contracts are absorbed to the firm, so their contracts belong to the firm, which is Stokely Hathaway and his group of guys. So we'll see where that plays out, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But then in the main event, you had the Pinnacle, which consisted of FTR and Shawn Spears defeat the Embassy, Brian Cage, Khan, and Tio Leone. Really, like, these were pretty decent matches. The opening match was dope. The main event was solid. The Ethan Page, Isaiah Cassidy match, I mean, it got to the point of where they wanted to go. Nyla Rose and Anna Jay, same thing. It got to the point of where it wanted to go. It didn't linger or anything like that, but really good show. Had fun watching it. Like I said, the first match, Cesaro and Moxley versus Butcher and the Blade. Man, shout out to Butcher and the Blade. That is a very underrated tag team. They're very physical. Too bad, since they've been in AEW, they haven't been able to hold any championship gold because of the depth of the AEW's tag team division throughout the years. Could see them going to ROH, but man, they had a solid match against Claudio Castagnoli, and Jon Moxley. The double clothesline and the double kicks to the face, like that's pretty much was towards the end of the match, which led to Claudio executing the Ricola bomb and Moxley executing a Death Rider. They get the win. Post-match, Moxley asks Claudio, is there anybody, like, do we care, who we face? He's like, no, we don't care. So they're still building up for that match next week against Hangman Page, because Hangman Page was looking on during this match. The way his mannerisms were as he was looking on, and then after Moxley and Claudio said what they said, I'm inclined to believe that we might be getting a Hangman Page heel turn. I don't know, but it does feel like it. Or it could be something that is a bridge to whatever happens to the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega coming back. I don't know. We'll see. Then we had Renee Young with Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee, and man, this backstage segment literally answered many questions that people had, like, okay, what are they going to do? And I really like Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee's backstage promos in AEW. Because most of the backstage promos, they either hype up a match or, they drop subtle hints and everything, but they get to the point where it's like, okay, this is where we're at, and this is where we might be going. And they use might subtly because with Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, ever since they've been in AEW, there isn't a obvious, okay, they're going here, or they're going here. It's just a slow, like, you turn that way, it's like, ooh, are we going that way? And it's just do 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 do. They go this way, and then they keep going that way, and then they go this way. But the direction is going where you think it's going. So Keith Lee, he mentions, I stuck with you, and when do we have to cheat? Which is what you did. And you see Swerve is just like, yeah. And then you have Keith Lee look at Swerve and he says, hey, you're swerving in the wrong lane. And it's like, ooh. So it's, you already, they're telling you in this promo, and Keith Lee's like, hey, I see what you're doing. Like, you're going in a direction I don't want to go, because he basically prefaced, hey, you're going in the wrong lane, which means you cheating, you doing all this stuff is something I don't agree with, which now makes it really clear, okay, this is where they're going to split and where they're going to, eventually have a feud, which should be a really good feud. I'm disappointed because I like Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee, but eventually that goes the separate ways. And then also, we got to keep in mind, if they split, does that mean we could get some reformation of Keith Lee and Shane Taylor? And could that mean that we do get Shane Taylor promotions in AEW eventually? Could be after what transpired tonight. So many questions surrounding that promo and things that the possibilities that surround that promo, but very good promo. And kudos to Renee Paquette. Like, she is a tremendous backstage interviewer, where from Dynamite to Rampage, her backstage segments get to the point. Like, and it's so fluid, and there's a continuity to what's happening in the ring and on the stage and everything, and the video package. There is a continuity. Mind you, this is only a week, but I've noticed that there is a continuity from her backstage segments where the wrestlers get to the point and get to there. And it's not a shot at Tony Schiavone, because, Tony Schiavone's running everywhere. Alex Marvez, he's there, but like, it just doesn't come across like anything is advancing when he does the backstage interviews. I don't know what it is. It's just really like awkward. Like, just something just doesn't mesh. But with Renee Paquette, it does. Then we come back from commercial. We got Renee with the Dark Order. Jose comes up and he tells number 10, Lance Vance, like, hey, you and Rush, I believe, next week on Rampage or something like that. So they're wrestling. And then afterwards, they do the 5. And then you got Stu Grayson comes out of nowhere, and you get this huge ovation by the crowd and everything. It's like, oh, man, okay, that's pretty cool. Then we get Jericho with the Jericho Appreciation Society. And something I noticed, and we'll have to see this next week. And maybe the week after, but definitely next week. I don't know if it was because they couldn't come over or what have you, because a few wrestlers, again, they're in Canada's a different country or anything, but I did notice that when the Jericho Appreciation Society came, there was no Sammy Guevara and Ty Mello, and of course, I believe, Jake Hager wasn't there either. So just very interesting. Not saying anything or anything like that. Of course, it could be the traveling over and that whole issue. There are requirements to be met for you to travel over to Canada and other countries that, maybe, I don't know. It is what it is. I'm not going to speculate on that, but it's just something I noticed, like, hey, these guys aren't here. It's like, all right. So yeah, they're pretty much hyping up Daniel Garcia, turning on Daniel Bryan. There's loud Garcia chants. He mentioned sports entertainers are superior. And of course, the crowd starts chanting, "You're a wrestler, you're a wrestler." So the further they go with Daniel Garcia being in Jericho Appreciation Society, it's very similar to what's happening with Jamie Hayter. Like, can we speed up the process to where they turn face already? Like, the crowd is behind them. Like, turn them already. Like, it's like AEW, in spite of everything that's happened with the injuries and, the backstage drama, the good thing that's come out of that is that AEW has somehow stumbled upon a lot of their young wrestlers getting organic reactions from the crowd and just getting over. The Acclaimed, of course, Jungle Boy, Darby, they get that. William Yuta, MJF is getting mixed reactions. They're getting that mixed reaction where it's like, okay, they're over. FTR, they were, solid, but it was like ever since their Briscoes match in April, it just carried over and they're just over. Wardlow, another one. So it's just something organic, and it's like, please make the switch. So they're talking. Then Dalton Castle, yes, Dalton Castle, former ROH World Champion, comes out. There's loud Dalton Castle chants, and man, if we could get a feud between Dalton Castle and Chris Jericho, that would be one of the most entertaining and funny feuds in AEW history. Do not underestimate how entertaining Dalton Castle can be and what he's done before, because I've seen his work in ROH, and it was just like very unorthodox, very funny, but the dude can wrestle. It's almost like Dalton Castle is a modern day Lanny Poffo if he was given like some serious stuff to do and like actually pushed. That's who he is. And Lanny Poffo was a solid wrestler. They just didn't push him like his brother Macho Man. So yeah, next week we're getting Dalton Castle and Chris Jericho for the ROH title. Again, Jericho is mentioning, I'll challenge any former ROH champion. Again, I hope this leads to Jonathan Gresham coming back and taking the title off Jericho. Granted, storyline, it could be Daniel Garcia and that whole thing, but man, I would love it to be Jonathan Gresham who takes the title off of Jericho. Me personally, that's what I would want. Then we get a video package hyping up Toni Storm and Sheeta's match on Dynamite. Again, we get Nyla Rose and Anna Jay. This was just a freaking beatdown. Nyla Rose wound up hitting the Beast Bomb, pin Anna Jay 1, 2, 3. Mind you, she stole the TBS Championship from Jade Cargill, and she's been masquerading around. And after Nyla Rose beat Anna Jay, Vicky Guerrero has this sign 1-0, and it's like making fun of Jade Cargill is freaking hilarious. Then Jade Cargill's music hits. Layla Gray and Kiera Hogan, they're like, nah, we got this. We're going to go down there. And they try to get past security, which Nyla Rose comes out with since she stole the title. And these Kiera Hogan and Layla Gray cannot get past security. So Jade Cargill is just like, you know what, I got to do this myself. And she lays out everybody in security. And as she's doing it and she's taunting them, Nyla Rose, Vicky Guerrero, and Marina Shafir like sneak past them, and she turns around and just like, oh man. So it's weird because people like Jade Cargill, and it's almost like Nyla Rose is what they call a tweener, where it's like she could display heel tactics, but she's getting a face react. Like, it's really interesting, but it's long overdue. Nyla Rose has been a heel since the beginning of AEW, and it's like she needs something different to do. Like there needs to be something different with Nyla Rose, like not the same old angry heel. Like if they let her display her personality that she displays on Twitter, man, you got another organic superstar that is, boom, just getting massive crowd ovation. So, interested with the storyline. About time something interesting with the TV title or the TBS title with Jade Cargill happening, because it was just kind of the same thing. It got mundane and it just felt like she went through everybody. And now it's like, Nyla Rose could actually beat Jade Cargill, but we'll see where that goes. Then we get video package of Ari Daivari talking about the envelope that Hook tore up, which had $50,000 for him to purchase the FTW title. They have a match scheduled next week on Rampage. That should be interesting. Then we had Ethan Page versus Isaiah Cassidy. Ethan Page just started off just beating the hell out of Isaiah Cassidy. Then he started mocking Matt Hardy and everything. Isaiah Cassidy performed a very good spinning DDT that was a reversal. I loved it. But in the end, Ethan Page wound up getting the Eagles edge, pinned Isaiah 1, 2, 3, and you just see Private Party and Matt Hardy just have their heads, and you see Stokely and those guys, they're laughing because now, like I said earlier, their contracts, Private Party and Matt Hardy's contracts, belong to Stokely Hathaway. So interesting how this is going to play out. It does feel like a rehash of the Hardy family office that was, I believe, last year. So it does feel like a rehash of it. Interested to see where this goes. Is this going to lead to something down the line of Jeff Hardy returning, which is very unlikely because of his legal issues? We'll see where this goes. Or this could mean Private Party and the Hardys go after the Trios title, which isn't bad because those guys deserve some type of title happening in AEW because they've been there since the beginning. So then we get a video package of Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends, and they call out Death Triangle for the Trios title. And of course, they recap Orange Cassidy winning the All Atlantic Championship. That match is going to take place next week on Dynamite. I don't see Death Triangle losing the Trios title unless something, I don't know, I just don't see it happening. I don't know, I just don't see them losing the titles. I don't see Best Friends becoming the 6-man tag titles and Orange Cassidy being the All Atlantic champion at the same time. I just don't see it. Could it happen? Yes, but I just don't see it happening right now. Then we get, of course, Mark Henry's backstage segment with the main events. You got the Pinnacle and you got the Embassy, Prince Nana. He starts singing, and Ivory and this is Ebony and Ivory, and Brian Cage starts talking, and man, the line of the segment from Shawn Spears, he freaking called Brian Cage a 900-pound charismatic vacuum. Like, wow, that was like, damn, like he just drains all the charisma. Like, damn, that was nasty. But man, this match, this was a pretty fun match. Loud crowd reaction for Shawn Spears and FTR. It's cool to see Shawn Spears like this and not as a heel. Like, of course, a heel, like, that was just something different. But like Shawn Spears naturally, man, the guy's funny. If you've seen his stuff in BET, the first few years of AEW and stuff like that, like, man, he's very funny, very charismatic, and it's just good to see him like this because, man, he's very quick-witted, and man, to have him with FTR and that whole thing, man, that is so fun, and I'm so happy that he's back. But man, they another thing that stood out to me with this match was all these guys, FTR and Shawn Spears, they did pay tribute to Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation. They were wearing pink and black, which is so cool because it's in Toronto. Nice nod. But man, this was back and forth match. A lot of power from Khan, Brian Cage, and Tioni Leone. Like, Brian Cage is suplexed from the second rope while the opponent's on the outside of the apron. Looks so damn impressive. FTR and Shawn Spears, they executed a triple sharpshooter, which was broken up by Tia Leone. But in the end, Shawn Spears wound up connecting with the C4 driver. They win. They're celebrating. All of a sudden, music hits, and you get Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, and Maria Kanellis. Yes. They are not called Honor No More. This team is known as the OGK. No, they're called the Kingdom. And they're calling out FTR and that whole thing. And it leads to the Embassy jumping the Pinnacle. And then you had Matt Taven and Mike Bennett jump them. Then you had Wardlow and Samoa Joe come out. They clear the ring. So we have the Kingdom, Maria Kanellis, Mike Bennett, and Matt Taven in AEW. What's interesting about the Kingdom being in AEW, and of course there was a report about Adam Cole, his injury and torn labrum and concussion and everything, and I was actually dealing with a strained labrum for this past year, and it's not easy. It's not fun. Mind you, I had a strained labrum and just had to keep it propped up. But man, the pain in the neck and just how it affects your head, like, man, Adam Cole is a one strong, tough dude to wrestle with that. And, if he did suffer some type of head injury, like, man, that's tough. But now getting back to the interesting thing about the Kingdom being in AEW. Of course, has been circulated online and everything. The Kingdom was a Ring of Honor faction which consisted of course, Maria Kanellis, Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, and the one baby, Adam Cole. So, since you have Bobby Fish, he's out. And, of course, Kyle O'Reilly, he's going to be sidelined. He had neck surgery. This is a way to put Adam Cole in the mix with a group because his guys aren't with him. And we'll see where this goes, but Adam Cole probably has a faction already made for his return when he comes back, which, honestly, I think Adam Cole might return by December. I know there was the Winter is Coming announcement that was, they released it, I think it's December 14th is what AEW released. I think the last couple of days they released it that Winter's Coming is December 14th, I believe. Comment below and let me know if it is December 14th, but it's interesting with the Kingdom arriving in AEW, and I don't know, it does look like with Jericho as champion and then these guys, like, it does feel like there is some movement towards a ROH TV deal. We'll see how that goes, and it does feel like it's getting closer. Of course, I know there's people like, why is the ROH titles always being defended on AEW? I don't know. Maybe because Tony Khan owns ROH. Like, what's he supposed to do? Like, yeah, I own them, but I'm just going to keep them off TV. Like, that's something that Vince McMahon would do, and what he kind of did for a whole year before he pretty much just exiled or put to bed whatever WCW championship there was, except for the big gold belt and that whole just operating as he just put it down and it was just United States title and world title, and that was it, and cruiserweight title. Like, there was no WCW mention. It was just WWE. So, yeah, we're getting close to something with ROH, which is much needed. And I think once that happens, it's going to alleviate a lot of stuff with AEW as far as Pretty much their own brand split. It's crazy. Tony Khan has AEW and Ring of Honor, and WWE has Raw and SmackDown. So it's pretty interesting that the top two companies in America have two big brands. Crazy. Like, it's crazy to think about that, but man, it's fun. But really looking forward to, and very interested into seeing what's next for the Kingdom. Maria Kanellis and Mike Bennett and Matt Taven. Things are getting interesting in AEW, and I know many people are like, whoa, it's boring, the backstage drama. Is like, you know what? Don't be so quick to, oh, it sucks. Like, no. Every wrestling company goes through its peaks and valleys, and right now they're in a little valley that's on a peak going up, and we'll see. Once MJF becomes champ, that's when things are going to go in another big direction. So this is my review for the October 14th episode of AEW Rampage. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you're notified when the House of Wrestling drops the latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram.